of all, my name is Sarvagiratna Sakib. So I am currently a PhD candidate at the University of Southern Mississippi. And today I am going to give a presentation on my paper, which is titled as Basketball 51, a video dataset for activity recognition in the basketball game. So, sorry. My co-authors are Dr. Zhang and Dr. Zhao. So this is the outline of the presentations that I'm going to give today. So first, I will talk about the motivation behind this research. So what make me start choose this as a topic for the research. The second one is I will talk about some of the background and introduction about the project. Then I will talk about the data collection process, the how we collect the data set, how we prepare this data set, and we will talk about some of the characteristics of the data that we have collected for this data set. Then we will discuss some of the baseline performance, the baseline models that we have used for the performance analysis to set the benchmark output for this one. And then we will talk about some of the results that we got from the experiments, and then we will talk about the conclusion. So the motivation behind this one is, as we see in recent times, the applications of artificial intelligence has been increased, has been used in many domains. So one of the field that in which the use of the AI, especially the machine learning and the deep learning, has been increasing is in the field of sports. So like for example, in sports, for monitoring the player fitness, predicting the player if there can be any injury during the play or during the training session, and some of the to analyze the player movement in the game. So these are some of the things that helps the coaches and the management to help the players to increase their performance during the training, making some game strategy during the games. And also, as the sports broadcasting media, let's say the sports marketing is a global market nowadays, as it has been very popular throughout the whole world. So the application of this AI, this machine learning, has been increasing in broadcasting media also. Also, in recent years, with the development of sensors and the body-worn devices, such as the smartwatch, let's say Fitbit. So these kind of devices, the development of this kind of devices in recent years has made it's easy to collect the data from the players, so which can be used for analyzing some of the movement of the players. But the one problem of this one is, since the player have to wear those devices, and then it becomes uncomfortable for them to actually wear them and do their performance during the games. So one solution for this one can be to use the visual data or the video data. But the problem with the visual data is that for analyzing the player movement or the player activities from the videos, the data analyzer or the person that is doing that one has to analyze the video footage for a long hours, so which will be very time consuming, and it's also need a lot of time and effort. And also to capture all of the movement, they need a special type of camera or the or a unique setup around the field, around the code, so that they can capture, and then that can be used for the activity recognition. So this system can be very expensive, and it cannot be easily available to each and every games. So the main objective or the motivation behind this research is to develop an automated system that can be used to recognize the activities performed during the game by using only the videos that has been easily available. So that videos will be the videos that has been used as by the broadcasting media to cover the live game, just like what we see on our TV. So and one of the problem of this one is we don't have any kind of specific data set that has been specified for one particular game. just like for basketball. So to classify the activities that has been performed in the game over there. So one objective is to create that kind of data set. So while talking about the introduction and the background, so as I said, most sports-related study data set has been developed to classify the activities based on different sports, just like for classification of different sports. Uh, so uh, some of the data set that has been collected for a specific games, a specific criteria is only the data set that has the statistical data of the players. So just like, for example, the number of games the player has played, or the number of goals, the number of shots that he taken, and the number of miss that he has during the entire season, or the player movement. So this kind of statistical data that has been included in the data set, but there is a lack of visual data that give all of these informations over here. And also there is there is lack of data set that includes all the actions that has been related on that specific sports. Okay, so the objective, as I mentioned, the objective of this paper is to introduce a basketball data set that has been collected from the videos that has been broadcasted on TV during the live game, and that can be used for classifying some of the scoring activities that has been performed by the players during a basketball game. So while talking about the steps for collecting the data set, so on step one, we first of all collect the basketball game videos. So that is the videos collected from the live video of basketball games that has been broadcasted from different broadcasting media. So the videos contains the whole game, the recording of the whole game from start to the end. So the videos doesn't only contains the activities that has been performed by the players during the game, but it also has some of the graphics, such as the let's say flashing scores, advertisement, highlights, replays, interviews during the half time. So this is what is included inside the videos. So it will be similar to what we see on a live TV. If a game has been covered and then broadcast on the TVs. So second step is to manually store the label and the time span. So for this one, so what we did was we look at the videos and we manually list the time span of the videos. So the difference that we have is whenever a player throws a ball for a basket, so whenever the ball reaches near the rim of the basket, then that time span is been recorded manually over there. So that means it will give the hour, minutes, and time, and the second from the starting of the videos, and then we record that on our spreadsheet. So another thing that we did was manually label the that time span. So that means we have manually labeled each clips for 8 different classes. So which is 2-point make and miss, 3-point make and miss, mid-range make and miss, and free throws make and miss. So we have divided the whole let's say data set into 8 different classes. So once we have that time span and the labels, then we will generate the clips from the whole videos. So that means when we send the time span and labels, the program will generate the video clips from the videos. So the clips will be around 6 seconds in length. So that means 3 seconds before the time span and 3 seconds after the time span, so that it will cover all of the activities for that particular shot, from where the ball has been the player has taken the shots. So that is the range of the shots to determine whether it's a 2-point, 3-point, or it's from the mid-range shot. Then either is score or not score. That is either is make or miss. So make is represented as 1 and miss is represented as 0 over here. And then the next 3 seconds is for whether there is any rebound or any other activities that has been performed after the shot has been made. So that's why we select 6 seconds clip over here. So then the clips will have all of the informations about the range of shots being taken, whether the shot has score that is made or whether it has missed, and if there is any rebound shot. So in that 6-second clip, it will have all of the information for that particular shots. And then in step 4, what we did was we generate the optical flow video clips from the original RGB clips by using the open source library OpenCV with the Garner Printback optical flow techniques for, and we will use that for experimental analysis. Uh, um, and we will discuss about that one in our later part of the slides. So our data set will have 8 different classes with its clips having 6-second length of clips over here. So this is the sample frames from the RGB clips. The upper row is the sample frames from the RGB video clips. So it's actually the first, second, and third is the actually when the shot has been started, the time the ball reached the rim, and the third one is the time when it has already left. The ball has already left from the scoring area, and the lower row will represent the frames from the optical flow video clips. So while talking about the characteristics of the data that we have, so we have the total number of games that we have is 51. So that is we have collected clips from 51 different games, from the 51 different NBA games. So in each game, there are around the average of 200 clips that we can generate it from that videos. So the total number of video clips that we have is around 10,311. So as I said, at first we have divided the whole data set into 8 different classes. So among the 8 different classes, the maximum number of data that we have is for the 3-point miss, which is around 20% of the total data. And the minimum that we have is from the free throw miss and the mid-range make. So which is around 5% of the total data sets. So we can see that it's evenly, not evenly, but somewhat evenly distributed. So also not only on these 8 different class, we can divide the whole data set into different groups. Like for example, for 4 class, depending on the range of shots being taken. So that is either it's a 2-point, 3-point, either is from the mid-range, or is it a free throw. And also not only this one, we can also divide the whole data set into the make and miss to determine whether the score, if there was a score or not score. So the whole nomenclature of the clips has been given as the video number, then the time span of the clips being taken from the starting of the videos, and then the label. So with the name given on the clips, we can divide the whole data set into different groups. So which can be used for analysis on different groups terms. So while talking about the models that we have used or the to determine the baseline performance. So the model that we have used is the 3D CNN, which is the 3D convolutional neural network. So it's actually the modified form of C3D architectures that has been over there. So we have actually reduced the number of layers for this one because the number of data that we have is not that large. So it has 4 3D convolutional layer followed by 3D max pooling layers, and is followed by dropout and batch normalization. So after this one, so the features that it has generated is being passed to the global average pooling layers, and then it is passed to 3 dense layers, in which the last layer is the softmax output layer. So the number of frames that we have extracted from the videos while analysis, while experiment is 50, as the memory requirement while using the videos is very high. So to balance that one, we use the number of extracted videos as 50 and the input dimension as 80 by 80. So the figure over here, it represents the overall architecture of the for the 3D CNN. So we have the video as an input, then it will extract the n number of frames, so that is 50, and then pass it to the 3D convolutional network. So it will have the number of frames and then the length, width, and the channel, so which is 3 over here. So then to the convoluted, and it will train the model. So we have used the same architecture for both the RGB and the optical flow dataset. Another model is the two-stream 3D network, in which we use this same model 3D CNN for two different streams, in which we have given RGB videos as an input to one stream, and then the optical videos as an input to the other stream. So it will train both the RGB and the optical videos, and then it's the output is fused and then passed to the fully connected layer. So it's basically the early fusion. So we have used the early fusion technique on this one. So both stream has the same 3D CNN network with identical hyperparameters. So for the experimental analysis, we have used the 3D CNN for separately for the RGB and the optical flow, and then use this two-stream network for analyzing the temporal and the structural information from the videos. So for evaluation, we test our model into two different classification types. So one is for the subject dependent and another is the subject independent. So in subject dependent, what we did was we divide the whole data set into the training and testing with the 80-20 ratio based on the class labels. So 20% is used for training and the 80% for training and 20% for testing. So among 80%, we again divide that into 80-20 divide ratio in the training and the validation data set. And so that all the divisions or all the class levels will have all the training, testing, and the validation data set will have some samples from each subjects, or let's say from each videos. But in subject independent, so what we did was we select the first 41 videos or the clips from the first 40 videos for the training, and the remaining 11 videos, clips from the remaining 11 videos as the testing data. And then we divide the training data into the 80-20 ratios for training and validations. So the objective for doing the subject independent is so that the testing data, so that the model will have the testing data that is completely unknown to the training data set. Although they have some of the, there is not much of a difference, but it can be helpful when we are training our data set for, let's say, on the NBA games, and that model can be used to some other local basketball games or some college basketball, which have different code and different camera angles that has been captured. So this can be helpful for that analysis over there. So for analyzing factors, we perform our experiments dividing the data set into three different groups. As I mentioned before, one is for 8 class, where the whole data set is divided into 8 different classes. So 2P represents the 2 point, 0 and 1 represents the miss and make, 3P represents the 3 point sort, MP represents the mid point sort, and FT represents the pre-true. And for 4 class, so the idea behind dividing on this 8 class is to find different scoring activities. Like for example, for 2 point and midpoint, it will be generated 2 points. 3 point sort will generate 3 scoring points, and free throw will generate 1 scoring points. And for 4 class, to analyze the range of the sorts, so it has been divided into either 2 points, 3 point, mid range, or the pre-throw. And for 2 class, it's actually to determine whether the score has been made or not. So this is the result that we have for this data set. So the first row will represent the 3D convolutional network for different scenarios. The second one is for the optical data that we have used. And third is for the 2-stream for both optical and the RGB data set. So when we look at the accuracies, we can see that the accuracies for subject dependent is higher than with subject independent. So this can be due to the fact that the training set and the testing set will have some samples from its videos. So it will have some information beforehand. Then among the three different groups that we have, the foreclass has the higher accuracies than the other two. So so that means the features for the range has been so we are able to find the features that differentiate the range of the shots. And in most cases, the two-stream network has higher accuracy than the optical flow, but it's less than the RGB network. So this can be due to the fact that the temporal information that we are supposed to get from the optical flow videos, so it's missing, and it can be further research on that one. And then subject dependent analysis, higher accuracies than the subject independent analysis. So as I mentioned this before, and also in all of the cases, the 3D CNN with RGB data has the highest accuracy. So among all of these different scenarios, the highest accuracies that we have got is around 80%, which is for the foreclass subject dependent using the RGB dataset. So since the high accuracies is for the foreclass group, so we look at the classification or the confusion matrix for this particular group for both subject dependent and the subject independent. So in the confusion matrix, we can see that while looking at the F1 score, we can see that the free throw has the higher accuracies than some of the other activities. So this can be due to the fact that there is a less movement of the players, or the camera angle is static at free throws with compared to the other activities like the 2-point or 3-point shot. So it has the higher classifying accuracies for the free throws, whereas the minimum is for the mid-range. So as we can see, the mid-range is somewhat similar to the 2-point and 3-point. It's between the 2-point and 3-point. So it has been greatly misclassified as the 3-point and 2-point. So it's hard to differentiate between the mid-range apart from the 2-point and 3-point. And when we look at the 2-point and 3-point shots, it's around 80 and 81% over there. So the major drawbacks, or the major reason for having the lower accuracy is to determine or to classify the mid-range shot, so which has been highly misclassified as the 2-point and 3-point in both of the cases. And the higher is for the free throw, which is around 98 and 95% in both cases. So in conclusion, we can say that in this paper, we introduced a new labeled basketball dataset that gives the information of most of the scoring activities, and that can be used to classify or to design a model that can classify the different scoring activities of a basketball game. So by using this one, we don't need any extra setup or any specific camera to collect the videos. So it can be easily available. It's been collected from the broadcast from the videos that has been broadcasted on live TV. So we have also given the baseline performance model for different scenarios and for different groups of data groups, which can be the benchmark to make more research or more experiments on this. So future works include some of the adding more class labels activities like the dribbling or the foul play or the standing players, passing. So these kind of activities that happens in the basketball game. So that can be included on this data set. Some of the different factors such as the camera angle, the dynamic movement of the background. So whenever the camera moves, the background will be dynamic, which will have some effect on the temporal information coming from the data set. The movement of the players and referees. So not only the players which have the ball, but all of the other players, movement of all of the other players will have the effect on the training of the model. So this has added the challenge in this dataset, and the inter-class similarities is high than some of the other uh, dataset that has been collected for sports. And since this is the basic or the first data set that we have on this field for this one, so it has the higher opportunity and the possibilities to increase the performance using this data set for further research. Yeah, thank you. If you have any questions.